Welcome to the world of Formula One, where speed meets strategy and dreams can either soar or shatter in the blink of an eye. Today we dive deep into the roller coaster journey of Mick Schumacher, a name synonymous with racing greatness yet overshadowed by immense pressure and expectations. Imagine being in his shoes, a talented driver with the weight of a legendary legacy on your shoulders. After being dropped by Haas at the end of 2022, Mick has fought tooth and nail to stay relevant in the sport he loves. As a reserve driver for Mercedes, his hopes of returning to the grid are hanging by a thread. But what's next for this determined racer? Join us as we unravel the highs and lows of Mick Schumacher's career, explore the fierce competition of F1, and question whether the sport has treated him fairly. Will he reclaim his place in the fast lane, or is his journey coming to an end? Buckle up, because this is a ride you won't want to miss. In the thrilling and cutthroat world of Formula One, the path to success can be as fleeting as a heartbeat. Few understand this better than Mick Schumacher, who has battled to maintain his presence in the sport since being dropped by Haas at the end of 2022. Now, as a reserve driver for Mercedes, Mick's dreams of racing have felt just out of reach. With nearly 2 years of setbacks and rejection weighing on him, the burning question arises: is Mick Schumacher's F1 journey coming to a close? At just 25 years old, Mick faced yet another disappointment when he was overlooked for the Williams seat, a chance that ultimately went to Franco Colapinto. This setback was compounded by the harsh words from James Vowles, the team principal, who bluntly stated that Mick isn't special. While this assessment might have some merit, Schumacher is a competent driver, but perhaps not extraordinary. It stings to hear, especially when you carry a surname that once stood for greatness in racing. Vowles did attempt to clarify his comment, explaining that special is reserved for multi-champion legends like Ayrton Senna and Lewis Hamilton. Despite his later apology, the sentiment resonated painfully with Mick and his family, particularly his mother, Corinna. After all, how do you escape the shadow of a legacy that looms so large? The reality is that while Mick has never dazzled in the way some expected, he possesses undeniable skill and determination. With 2 full seasons in F1 under his belt and recent testing experience with teams like Mercedes, McLaren, and Alpine, he remains a relevant figure in the paddock. His journey is far from over, as the pool of experienced drivers is shallow, making him a logical candidate for any team in need. Before his disappointing omission from the Williams lineup, Mick Schumacher was also considered for a seat at Alpine. However, after Carlos Sainz's departure, Alpine opted for rookie Jack Doohan from their own academy instead. Despite his connection to the team through his role in the World Endurance Championship, Mick's testing with Alpine in a 2022 spec car did not leave a lasting impression. This lack of standout performance sealed another opportunity he could have seized. Ralf Schumacher, Mick's uncle and a former F1 driver with 6 Grand Prix victories to his name, expressed his concerns over how Mick was treated during the selection process. He noted that Mick was disadvantaged by running in the morning sessions and felt he was not given a fair shot. The situation was further complicated when Mick learned about Doohan's signing via social media rather than through a direct conversation. This left Mick feeling sidelined, reinforcing the notion that Alpine may never have considered him a serious contender for the drive. The harsh truth is that Mick has missed opportunities not only at Williams and Alpine, but also for the vacant Mercedes seat for 2025, which has been awarded to promising young talent, Kimi Antonelli. While Mercedes trusts Mick enough to step in as an emergency stand-in driver, it's clear they don't view him as a strong candidate for a race seat. This begs the question: why is it so difficult for Mick to reclaim his place in F1? Despite a commendable racing background, including winning the European Formula 3 Championship in 2018 and the Formula 2 title in 2020, Mick's time at Haas has proven to be a mixed bag. His first season was marked by a lack of car development, as Haas chose to focus on new regulations for 2022, leading to a pointless year for Mick. However, he did manage a commendable 12th place finish in Hungary and consistently outperformed his teammate. The consensus among observers was that Mick Schumacher demonstrated promise, particularly in challenging circumstances. His intelligent and professional demeanor was praised, and he felt he was on an upward trajectory, highlighting his strong performances in Hungary, Turkey, and Qatar. Yet, when 2022 arrived with a more competitive Haas, Mick struggled to make the leap forward. His experienced teammate, Kevin Magnussen, consistently outshined him, further complicating Mick's quest to establish himself. A significant crash during qualifying for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix forced Mick to miss the race, as Haas opted to protect its limited spare parts. Unfortunately, this was not an isolated incident. Accidents seemed to define Mick's 2022 season. A major crash at the Monaco Grand Prix resulted in substantial damage to his car, and while he had been forgiven for earlier mishaps in 2021, expectations were high for a cleaner performance in his second year. The pressure was mounting. It wasn't until the 10th race of the season at Silverstone that Mick finally scored his first F1 points, finishing 8th after a nail-biting battle against the stricken Red Bull of Max Verstappen. Just 5 races earlier, he was on course for a point finish in Miami before a late collision with Sebastian Vettel derailed his efforts. He showed flashes of brilliance, including a career-best 6th place in Austria, but these moments were overshadowed by a season that ultimately failed to deliver. Mick's relationship with the Haas team deteriorated as his on-track performance waned. A costly crash after the checkered flag in practice at Suzuka tested team principal Gunther Steiner's patience, pushing Mick further onto thin ice. While his accidents weren't frequent, having 3 significant incidents during the season weighed heavily against him, culminating in Haas' decision to replace him with the more experienced Nico Hülkenberg for 2023. Despite the setbacks, Mick Schumacher remained determined to reclaim his place in Formula One, even asserting his belief that he had the potential to win a world championship one day. However, the struggle lies in finding a team principal who shares that vision. His aspirations haven't been entirely extinguished. Mick is expected to continue as a reserve driver for Mercedes next year, giving him the chance to stay involved in the sport. Yet his ultimate goal remains a return to the F1 grid. The driver landscape is tightly contested, especially within Red Bull's ecosystem, which appears to have little room for newcomers. Currently, the only available seat at Alfa Romeo is heavily favored to go to Valtteri Bottas. However, with vocal support for Mick emerging from Germany, there's a faint possibility that Audi might consider a German lineup by pairing him with Hülkenberg. For now, though, it seems another season on the sidelines is in store for Mick. He may remain a backup option for any team needing a driver, but after being overlooked and rejected by so many, his chances of returning to the grid are diminishing. Given his experience, he continues to linger in the competitive realm of F1, holding on to hope, albeit faintly. Realistically, luck will play a significant role in Mick's future. Teams are on the lookout for potential superstars, and as Vowles noted, Mick is often viewed as merely good rather than exceptional. This assessment is tough to refute, particularly given that Mick's dwindling prospects depend on a team willing to take a chance on an experienced hand. The question remains, has Formula One treated Mick Schumacher unfairly? Many voices argue that it has, including those within his own family and figures like Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko, who criticized Gunther Steiner for the way Mick was handled. However, Marko also didn't push to bring Mick into the Red Bull fold, indicating a nuanced perspective on the situation. One aspect that complicates Mick's standing in the paddock is, of course, his famous surname. While it was once seen as a boon, the pressures and expectations tied to being a Schumacher can also weigh heavily. Comments from family members and parts of the German media have at times turned counterproductive, leading team principals to be wary of the baggage that comes with Mick's name. Steiner himself acknowledged this dynamic in a 2023 interview, highlighting how the hype surrounding the Schumacher name can sometimes overshadow the driver's actual performance. At the end of the day, Mick is undeniably a skilled driver. If given another opportunity in F1, he would likely not disappoint and could demonstrate the progress he has made during his time away from the track. However, it's hard to argue that he would elevate himself to a level beyond that of a solid midfield performer, which is what teams are increasingly seeking. As the search for fresh talent continues, the question lingers: can Mick Schumacher change the narrative around his career? Given another chance, he may very well prove his doubters wrong, but for now, his future remains uncertain, hanging in the balance like a delicate thread in the fast-paced world of Formula One. In the world of Formula One, where every split-second decision can change a career, Mick Schumacher's journey reflects both the challenges and unpredictability of the sport. As he navigates this precarious landscape, he embodies the hope and resilience that all aspiring drivers must possess. Each opportunity missed is a lesson learned, and each setback is a stepping stone toward future success. Despite the shadows of doubt cast by team principals and the media, Mick remains committed to his dream. He continues to train rigorously and stays engaged with the sport, ready for any chance that may arise. The motorsport community has seen many comebacks, and Mick's story is far from over. As fans and observers, we can only watch and wait to see if this talented driver can harness the potential that many believe he still holds. Will he rise to the occasion and carve out his own legacy, separate from the illustrious name he bears? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain: Mick Schumacher's determination to succeed in Formula One is unwavering, and the next chapter of his story is yet to be written.